Hey there, it's Susan Pierce Thompson, and welcome to the weekly vlog. So, within our Brightline Eating community, we have a lot of support structures. We have buddies and mastermind groups, and we also have had, up until now, something called sponsorship. And the difference between a sponsor and a buddy is that a buddy is that relationship is bidirectional, where two people will support each other. They'll talk on the phone, they'll text, they might commit their food to each other. Whereas the sponsor relationship has always been a unidirectional relationship where one person is supporting or guiding, mentoring the other person, and taking their food commitment, but not vice versa. So, in our coaching group, those of us who are coaches on the Brightline Eating staff, we've been talking about that word in particular, sponsor, because it comes from the 12-step community. In AA and other 12-step programs, there are sponsors. But that's a different relationship. It varies among the different 12-step programs what the role of a sponsor is. But in general, the role of a sponsor is in a 12-step program is to take someone through the 12 steps. And in that way is very much a spiritual mentor and leading someone through a very prescribed process, the 12 steps. So we don't have that in Brightline Eating, and as such, the role is a little different. And especially because most of the people in Brightline Eating are not in 12-step programs, and so that word doesn't really, in and of itself, convey the nature of the relationship. We've decided to change the term that we're using, and we have considered it carefully, and we're going to change it to guide. Guide. Reason being that the word guide really accurately, I think, reflects what the job is about, what you're doing. There is a prescribed path in Brightline Eating. People will vary a bit in how they apply it, but there's a program here to work, and it works when you work it. And we are just loving the thought that people who have been on the path for a bit, working the Brightline Eating program, have a lot to offer inherently just because of their experience on this path working the program. They have experience, going to events and restaurants without breaking their bright lines. They have experience as their weight comes off. They might have experience transitioning to maintenance. They have experience in our community and using the various tools that are available here. And as such, they can guide someone who is newer on the journey. Or who is struggling on the journey and needs some extra support. So what we noticed was, for some reason, the word sponsor was maybe applying some pressure or creating an expectation of expertise. Especially for people who don't come from a 12-step background, there was also, I think, a little mystery around what is that exactly and what would I be doing, right? And the word mentor was also considered as we made this switch, but the word mentor also doesn't relieve the sort of pressure aspect of you better have your act together in a certain kind of way, where the word guide really makes it clear that it's experience on this path that is helpful to someone who is newer on the path, who's newer on the journey. And as such, really everyone potentially could be a guide for somebody. Not everyone could be a guide for everyone, but different levels of experience can match up. And in Brightline Eating, being a guide isn't always a super long-term thing. We have a set of documents that describe the relationship and how to set up the expectations and what each person is looking for in the relationship, and really takes you through a process of creating the container that you each are going to be, the framework that you're going to be operating within, a structure for checking in, and a structure also for bringing closure to the relationship when that time comes as well, and maybe morphing it to a buddy relationship or a different form of relationship. Being a guide is not a forever job necessarily. So we have a set of documents that we've now updated that reflect this change in terminology. And I just want to say that in my journey, this has been right up there with the most helpful things I have ever done, both giving and receiving. So when I show up to this kind of relationship and allow myself to be guided by somebody, I allow myself to commit my food to them, to give them authority in the sense of the authority to hold me accountable, the authority to hold my commitment, which is really only something I can give to them, right? I can commit my food and not care that I've committed it and go off and eat something else, or I can grant them the authority to hold me in a state of commitment so that the next day I really do eat only and exactly what I have committed to them. There is a certain gravitas in working with someone who is ahead of me on the path and who's demonstrating a level of peace with their food and ease in their body and with their life that I want, that I aspire to, and asking them to guide me. The asking is powerful, and allowing myself to be guided is powerful. I have personally never been able, not once, I'm pretty darn sure about that. I have never, not once, been able to get out of a period of addictive eating, a period of my food being wonky without doing this, without asking someone to guide me and then starting to commit my food to them. That is my way of getting back on track, for sure. But I also want to say that guiding others is absolutely foundational to my longevity and my peace and my well-being on this path, for sure. As a matter of fact, early in starting Bright Line Eating, because I was suddenly providing help to so many hundreds and then suddenly thousands of people, I stopped doing this for a while. I stopped taking daily phone calls from specific individuals that I was guiding on their journey. And I think that was a big reason that I spiraled back into the food for on and off for those years. All through that time, I was not doing this with anyone. I was not talking with people on the phone individually, one-on-one on a daily basis and guiding them in their journey. And right around the time that I started doing that again, my food got straight, and it's been straight now, you know, for more than a couple years, like all bright days for more than a couple years. So I cannot vouch for this enough. I think that if you are at a point in your Bright Line Eating journey where you've hit a groove, you've hit a stride, and you're having bright days and you're feeling good about your journey, you can be a guide. Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're in our membership and you want to check out the documents, go into the Bright Lifers section and check out these new documents that we've updated on being a guide. And it really walks you through it, how to do it. And I encourage you to think about this principle of service. Gratitude and service are the key elements to living peacefully, happily, bright, long-term, having released all your excess weight, living in your bright body, really living the dream that we come here for and that is available here. And we have just made it that much easier to do that. So I encourage you to become a guide. I encourage you to seek out a guide if you need one. And just to remember, we have a path here and thousands of people have walked it with great success. And if you feel like you're floundering on that path, absolutely reach out for a guide. And if you are on that path, it's such a pleasure and a privilege to be a guide, and we can support you in how to do that. So if you're not in the membership, what are you waiting for? It's time to join the membership. Super easy. Go to brightlineeating.com and I will see you on the inside. That's the weekly vlog. I'll see you next week.